So the other day I was sitting here randomly thinking, what the happened to Phaedra Parks?
Show me them titties! Loser!
She was the epitome of the Real Housewives of Atlanta franchise. She was successful, she was charming, she was religious, and she was a housewife.
Phaedra, high class Parks.
But above all else, and her ultimate downfall was she was a liar, and Bravo was willing to expose her lies, and all of this would reach a peak in season 9.
You never can win when you're dirty, honey. You never can win.
Not only would her lies lead her to be canceled from the network, but it seems like she was just blackballed from TV for several years after the ultimate lie in season 9.
Who said that? Who said that?
From early on in the show, Phaedra Parks was introduced to us as someone who was willing to not tell the truth. In the beginning, it was funny because you had this woman in one scene who was very witty, charming, she was really good with the flow and really blended in with the ladies.
Say hi, I'm not an ass.
I got you, but it's an ass that runs around talking about unborn children.
But then in another scene, her character was sort of displayed to us as someone who was willing to stretch the truth in order to protect her image that she was portraying in that former scene.
Listen, a lot of attorneys are excellent liars. And the fact that she couldn't come up with a good lie, I mean, good gracious.
She didn't want to do anything that was outside of her being holier than thou, religious, a Christian, a Southern belle, and the women would slowly call her out about this.
Around some people, she's Miss Southern Belle, but when it's some of our other friends who she can let her hair down with, she will turn up.
Well, I know with the Southern Belle, I know the Freako, I know all of those.
I feel like, Phaedra, you've really wanted to portray things in your life and with Apollo with a really rosy kind of image.
I will never forget that you did that to me.
Take, for example, the birth of her first child. One of the major storylines in season 3, as we're sort of getting used to Phaedra, is her baby's due date. Now, the women could look at Phaedra's stomach and tell that she was definitely further along than what she was telling the cameras and what she was telling the women behind the scenes.
Gave me 5 months pregnant and your belly's way out here. When you give a date like,
the women would flat out ask her on the show in front of cameras, when is your due date? When are you due? And Phaedra would lie to them.
5 months pregnant.
Yeah, my due date was July 26th or August 1st.
But isn't it? One thing I can do, and that's add. And what Phaedra is saying, it's not adding up.
She wanted to protect the fact that she got pregnant before she was married to her convict husband, Apollo, or ex-husband, and she didn't really want to show this side of her. She didn't want to show that she went against God.
You were married when you got pregnant?
Well, when you go back, no, I might have been a month pregnant when I got married. A month and a half.
And she was willing to lie about this throughout the entire season up into the reunion where she was called out and backed into a corner, and she lied again. She said that she was protecting the baby. She wanted to make sure that she was protecting her right as a mother just in case they had to do something, which was another lie. It was maybe not a lie, but a manipulation of the truth, which is what we would see from her time and time again.
Her mom was very religious.
No, it was not. I had a lot of problems with the pregnancy, so I wasn't sure a lot of times if I was going to go full term with the baby.
But it wasn't until season 7 through 9 where we started to see her real true character shine through. Leading up to this, we are introduced to a character by the name of Kenya, and Kenya is someone who absolutely was despised by Phaedra, so much so to where this Southern belle cracked.
As a married, oh, no.
Phaedra grew to dislike Kenya, especially when it revolved around her husband Apollo, which, come to find out, a lot of the things that Apollo was going back and telling Phaedra were not true.
It was a lie. I was upset. I was mad at a lot of things because a lot of stuff was taken out of proportion.
And Apollo ended up apologizing to Kenya for starting this whole drama in the beginning. Phaedra would show other sides of her personality, sides that she wanted to not display on camera. For example, Phaedra would sort of slut shame Kenya, call her a whore.
You're like an old condo that they done converted
you really
to
rehearsed
a
that one out. Let's
townhome.
give it up.
Make fun of the fact that she was going to get a surrogate, which we got a really good read out of that one.
And she spends her weekends peddling through sperm banks, looking through catalogs to try to find a donor. Honey, you don't know if your baby daddy will be an axe murderer or a child molester.
It just got a little messy when it came to her character on the TV show, and it seemed like her getting in these beefs and her getting in these rivalries really pulled that side out of her.
Girl, don't let her come over here, because I'm going to slap the shit out of her. She come with that bullshit.
A lot of the castmates throughout the seasons, especially leading up to season 9, would say that Phaedra would say certain things on camera and then turn around and say something completely different off camera.
Wait, Candy is
That was way more manipulative and vindictive.
What you did behind my back was went and talked to my half-sisters who I haven't had a relationship with in over 8 years.
The whole Kenya Apollo Phaedra situation really wrapped up pretty quickly as Apollo was sentenced to prison. But speaking of prison, when you take the fact that Apollo was a convict, like a convict, there is no, okay, I just had 1 felony, 2 felonies, whatever. He is a convict, convicted felon.
I stole cars, I'm a car thief. That was, one of the alleged acts.
Went to prison for many, many years. Went to prison after that for many, many years. He is a
Po-ass scammer.
When you take that and then you take Phaedra's image, the two don't really mix well. And it really makes you think and wonder why the two were even together to begin with.
Word on the street is that Apollo is a criminal. And now he's the husband of Phaedra High-Class Parks.
So the idea of this lawyer, educated, religious woman protecting her king, who is a convicted felon, just was so weird to me to go back and watch, especially when you consider the fact that she would dog Kenya time and time again because of her husband, who was fully involved in situations with Kenya that was inappropriate.
She got him from prison 3 days after he stepped out. Where did you think that train was going?
It was a classic example of a person not holding their partner accountable, but instead going after the other person that was involved. And come to find out, with Apollo apologizing to Kenya, Kenya's extent to their sort of inappropriate relationship was very, very limited. And in the end, it just made Phaedra look even worse.
Phaedra, have you ever apologized to Kenya for the names you called her when Apollo blamed her for coming on to him? And do you feel bad for not believing her?
It wasn't until season 9 when we got the biggest lie and the biggest rivalry of them all. One so big that it really caused not only her cancellation, but it showed the extent to what she was willing to do and say behind closed doors when she thought the mics weren't running in order to ruin someone's life and reputation. Just to set this lie into context, season 7 through season 9 are prime time reality television. It is drama after drama after drama, and a lot of the drama is deep. It revolves around Kandi and Phaedra. Now, leading up to this, Kandi and Phaedra were really close friends. They had been together for so many seasons and worked a lot on the show together, but they also were real life friends. So usually on the show, the rivalries and the drama happens from season to season, yes, but there seems to be some sort of resolution. It is a little bit of a lighthearted shade here and there between castmates, but there isn't really these long-standing deep rivalries because the women aren't really friends off of the show. But with Kandi and Phaedra, it was different. We got to hear a lot of stories about Phaedra getting mad at Kandi and calling the feds because Apollo was hiding things at her home when he got convicted.
It was right after you was mad at us about something that happened just a day or two before. So when the Fed person came to our house, it just, the timing of it was coincidental.
Todd wasn't paid by Phaedra, so he ended up going and trying to get money from her.
You say, I paid him $30,000, then I show you the checks. Oh, well, maybe I made a mistake. Everything is a mistake.
We got Kandi basically saying that Phaedra was not upset that Apollo was going to prison because she had already moved on and she was going to marry somebody by the end of the year, and she was talking to Mr. Chocolate.
You was already talking to other people before your husband even went to jail.
We got Kandi basically saying that Phaedra was full of shit, and she was going back and telling Nene things about her that really had nothing to do with Nene.
Out of everybody, I would have thought it would have been Kandi, you know, because I have been there for Kandi.
Nene and Kandi had a rivalry around this time. It was mess after mess after mess, and it just all piled up.
He was looking for you, and he was gonna blow you the up.
But what I think Bravo probably thought was by this time there would be some sort of resolution. I don't think they could have expected what happened next. During this time, Porsha and Phaedra were frick and frack. They were very, very close.
Loser.
Porsha was also very dense. She was missing a few brain cells.
True tea, bitch.
Porsha was very upset that Kandi allegedly was going around Atlanta and on the show telling people that Phaedra was sleeping around on her husband by the time her husband went to prison, because she was ready for him to go. She was ready for Apollo to go to jail. She didn't really like that Kandi was going around and saying that about her friend, and rightfully so. During season 9 is when we get the infamous Kandi and Porsha sit down smackdown. Kandi basically said, girl, you wanted to eat my pussy till I came.
Yeah. But that's just like when you was kissing me in the club and told me you wanted to eat my till I came.
And Portia's like, girl,
I want to eat your mother.
She also called her a tea kettle.
Short and stout, bitch.
But what we didn't know, with all of this shade being thrown and Porsha taking up for her friend Phaedra, was 2 days before this conversation, Phaedra sat down with her girl Porsha and said, listen, yeah, Kandi's a freak. She's a lesbian. You know this. You guys were making out. But not only this, she said in order to get you back to her house, in her sex dungeon, she was going to drug and rape you in order to get you down there.
Told me that 2 days before I sat with Kandi. You said she told you firsthand.
And then Porsha ends up repeating this on TV during the infamous sit-down smackdown.
That you and your husband had planned on drugging me and take me back to your house.
This information was aired on the reunion in order to provide more context when it ultimately came out. After this had happened, there was a lot more back and forth between Porsha and Kandi, and it seemed like Phaedra just wanted to hide her hand. She did not take up for Porsha in Maui.
It took everything in me. Choke this out this bitch.
She didn't take up for Porsha when any of the girls said that Porsha should not have said what she said on camera.
Leave the drug thing alone. Yeah, that ain't no surface shade. That is some deep, deep libel.
And the allegations were just crazy.
The conversation stemmed from the lies that you said about Kandi, about
Porsha also was not aware that she insinuated that Kandi was a lesbian or Kandi was in the closet. That's when we got the infamous, who said that?
Who said that? Who said that? Who said that?
It just was mess on top of mess. And Porsha was there, but Phaedra was not there. She was not in it until the reunion.
Look, I don't want to run you all the way down on this TV show.
During the reunion, the conversation came back up where Porsha said that Kandi basically wanted to drug and rape her. You can tell Kandi was very upset by this. She vehemently denied these allegations. Porsha said, listen, I'm not going to talk about this because Kandi sent me a cease and desist letter. What I am going to do is I'm going to defer to Phaedra because Phaedra is the one who told me this.
You said that? That I wanted to drug her.
This is when us as viewers discovered that Phaedra was the one behind all of this. She was the one behind Porsha confronting Kandi about the rape allegations. It was like a game of Clue, and we discovered who was behind it. I don't know how Clue works, but we discovered who the Clue master was, however Clue works, and this is prime time TV, but it also ruins lives. This was a bombshell, and it was ultimately Phaedra's demise. Phaedra had no rebuttal except for another alleged lie where she said she didn't get this information firsthand from Kandi. She got this information from somebody else. She heard it and then she relayed it back to Porsha. Porsha came back and said, no, that's not true. I asked you before the reunion if this was true and you doubled down on it. You told me that you heard it specifically from Kandi. There was no way to run and Phaedra was caught. and Bravo decided to end her career on the show. Speaking of Bravo, it does seem like they are open to having another relationship with Phaedra. It seems like maybe audiences reacted well to the idea of Phaedra coming back. Phaedra has been on Ultimate Girls Trip, Watch What Happens Live. She's also going to be on Married to Medicine. She was on Real Housewives Dubai. So Phaedra seems to be testing well, and I am excited to see what her comeback looks like. She is not going to have a relationship with Kandi ever again. Kandi has time and time again said, the door is closed. The door is closed. We are not having a conversation, which is what Phaedra wants to have. She believes that the viewers are deserved of that. She said no, absolutely not. She does not want to talk to liars. She's not going to have a conversation with Phaedra.
You can't defend yourselves against blatant liars or people who are so spiteful that will make up anything to tear you down, and right, then hide.
She has forgiven Portia. She said that it took her years of working together and talking to her. Phaedra has not apologized. Portia has apologized. So that's why she has been able to forgive Portia. But how do you guys feel about Phaedra? How do you guys feel about the drama with her on Real Housewives? Are you excited for her return? I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. So drop down in the comments below, and I will be talking to you guys very, very soon. Bye, guys.